Hey everyone, this is Perry Belcher and Ryan Dice, and in this training, we're going to be talking about Twitter list building, or how I like to use Twitter to grow your email opt-in list for free. And this training is going to be kind of unique because it's about social media, Twitter in particular, and we've got probably one of the foremost social media, would it be safe to call you a social media god?
Yeah, if you can't come up with anything better.
Anything better? I can. So we're going to go with that. But one of the foremost social media experts in all seriousness on good old planet Earth, Perry Belcher. And this actually, you're going to be hearing me doing the bulk of the talking because this is how I like to use Twitter to build lists. And I wanted Perry to be here because Perry is going to be disagreeing with a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about. not from a I don't think that it works, but I'm going to be breaking some of the rules, if you will, some of the kind of how you're supposed to use Twitter, the right way to use Twitter. I'm kind of throwing some of that out of the window. This is my way of using Twitter for how I build lists. And so if you hear some disagreement between Perry and I, that's good. That's why I wanted him here, because I want you to get both sides of the story. But this is how I like to use Twitter to build lists. At the end of it, you can decide who you agree with, who you disagree with, kind of where you want to fall on that continuum. But here's kind of why I feel the way that I do about using Twitter to build lists. Twitter kind of has two big problems. And the first problem is that people either leave Twitter completely after a fairly short period of time, or they really get into Twitter and they enjoy Twitter and they get a lot of followers and they build up a big following, and now their timeline gets all muddled. There's a ton of people, who are following up, and you just kind of get lost in the clutter. Is that safe to say, Perry?
Yeah, it's pretty easy to, and I understand your point, kind of I understand where you're going, because there are a lot of people that jump onto Twitter and take off, and if you're not, even in my trainings, I train people, the most important thing to do is to get those people off of Twitter and onto your mailing list as quickly as you can, because I've seen accounts get canceled. I've seen people lose it. A multitude of things can happen, and unfortunately, the one of the downfalls to social media is these big social media companies own your data, and because it's free, they can turn you off or on anytime they feel like it, and there's not a lot that you can do to motivate them to leave you, to give your account back or give you your leads back. So the only reason I kind of agree with Ryan at all in this premise is that he does have a strong point that it's super important to get people off your social media list and onto a list that you own as quickly as is humanly possible.
Yeah, and that's really what we're talking about. And I realize that we jumped in really quickly and we assume that you know a lot of stuff about Twitter and what Twitter is, and we're going to continue to assume that throughout this training. So I should probably say, if you have no idea whatsoever about what Twitter is, go to twitter.com, do some looking. You'll figure it out relatively quickly. But again, we're going to assume a basic level knowledge here. Now, getting back to kind of the big problems with Twitter and about people leaving Twitter completely, that's not just something I came up with. Nielsen, who is one of the largest polling organizations, did a study a month or two back, and they a quote, and I've got the link to the page if you want to the entire article if you want to check it out. But kind of the big highlight there was currently more than 60% of U.S. Twitter users fail to return the following month. So they've got a 60% attrition after 1 month. So that's why I say, you really do, your mission is to move your fans off of Twitter and onto your email opt-in list as quickly as possible. Because usually when somebody joins Twitter, for the most part, they're only going to be around for about 30 to 60 days. Now, I know that, getting back to this Nielsen stat, of the 60% who leave, they're only measuring Twitter, people who are logging in at twitter.com. And there's other applications like TweetDeck and things like that people move over to.
About half of all people now that use Twitter, roughly 50% of all people, I don't know if you have that in there somewhere.
No, I don't.
That use Twitter are using it through a third-party application. So this gets a little skewed. But you got a good point, because I know that most people that are active with me right now are on Twitter always, every single month, are probably the people that came to Twitter that month.
Yeah.
The newest people are the most active, and the activity level definitely slows down.
Yeah, so that's the point. This is kind of the big theme, is we want to, within that first month, move people. Once we generate a follower on Twitter, we want to, within the first 30 days, move them over to our email list. But there's we're not going to be doing it through auto follow messages and things like that. I've got a specific system that I use to do this, and that's what you're going to be seeing right here in this training. So here's kind of the plan, right? Here's a broad overview, and then in the next set of videos, we'll go through these step by step. But step one is you need to build your follower list in Twitter. So obviously, before you can move somebody off of Twitter and onto your own opt-in list, you got to first get them on Twitter. Now, fortunately, this part of the process is free, and doubly fortunately, we have one of the best people right here in the in the studio who is better at building a big list of followers on Twitter than just about anybody I know. I mean, you got over 100,000 people following you right now on Twitter.
Yeah, I think 101,700 something.
Yeah, growing, and obviously by the time this comes out, and by the time you watch it,
3,000 this week.
It'll be even bigger. So we're going to cover how to build a massive follower list in Twitter. Then we're going to talk about, people say, okay, great, I've got a massive follower list. What the heck do I tweet to? And we're going to show you how to tweet pre-tested content. And again, Perry taught me, these first two steps, I learned everything from Perry. So I'm going to be leaning on him heavily to show you how to do that the right way. And fortunately, step one was free. Step two is zero work whenever you do it the way that we show you how to do it. Now, step three is when we start blending disguised content, what I like to call disguised content, into your tweets that redirect your followers to email opt-in forms. And you got to be more subtle with this. You got to be a little more careful with this. But there's three methods that we use to blend disguised content in our tweets and then direct people over to email opt-in forms that we're going to be showing you. So with that, let's go ahead, dive in to step one, which is how to build your follower list.